What's up, everybody? Glenn, Red Dog Motorsports. We're back out in the shop. This week, we're working on a 37 Ford sedan, coupe, whatever you want to call it. It's really a coupe. It is a standard. If you see here, looking in this window, the driver's window, that one right there, only one windshield wiper. This window doesn't have one. That's how we know it is not a deluxe. That being said, this vehicle is in the shop to get a little bit of finish work. Kind of seems to be what we're doing lately. We've got a Chevy 350 with tri-power on it, 6-pack, triple 2 barrels, deuces, whatever you want to call them. But we got to get everything running. I know the motor runs, it just doesn't run well. I haven't heard it, so we're going to go in. We'll get things set at top dead center on number 1. So we'll be pulling all the plugs. We'll pull the valve covers, check lash, make sure that the distributor's timed right. We'll do all of that before we start trying to start it. But it's got a 350 transmission behind it. I checked it for fluid a little bit earlier. I know it has fluid. It's not leaking on the floor, so I assume it's good to go. The only thing I do know, it does not have the vacuum modulator hooked up, so we'll have to do that before it does any driving. I also know that the vacuum advance is not hooked up on the distributor, so that'll have to be hooked up. A couple other minor little things in there. There's a water jacket that needs, or water connection that needs to be done. I'm waiting on the part for it to come in. Otherwise, we're going to be doing some electrical work to it, getting the gauges all final wired, connected. We're going to be in here on the doors. They bought electric window regulators. We got to get them mounted and get the doors mounted up, or the windows mounted in them. So I got to get all of the proper felts ordered, wipers, door tracks. I've got the surrounds coming. We need those to retain the windows. But it's just a cool little vehicle. It's got some Pro Car seats in it, carpet, it's been painted. So but we got a little bit of stuff to do. Some of it we won't do. I don't know where the knobs and stuff are for some of these, but we'll work with what we got. I know it has a custom chassis underneath it, so it's got a nice stance on it. Not positive on the rear end. And in here in the boot, it's got an RCI fuel tank. We got to get the battery mounted, get things cleaned up a little bit. But yeah, brakes work on it. I don't know that we even need to do anything there. We'll try to get underneath it once I get it jacked up and get a look at the chassis that's there, because it's being a custom chassis, it's going to be a little bit cool. But otherwise, just some simple work. Get this one to be a running and driver. Oh, I got the hood. The hood needs a little bit of work. This bolt is frozen in there, been welded. So we're gonna have to cut it out. Probably put a nut cert or something in there. It should be pretty simple. I don't think we're gonna have to do a lot of welding or anything to it. And I gotta figure out a latch for it so that we can get the hood to stay latched and then be able to open it. So yeah, should be all right. But let's get into getting the motor started. That's where we're gonna start with this one. So let's get on it. All right, guys, I got the plugs all out. I got the driver's side valve cover off, and now I've been cranking it over, getting us to top dead center on number 1. For this one, I've got a little piece of wire, and I'm just using it to check going through the spark plug hole, because I'm not able to crank this one very quickly with the wrench. But I can feel in there where the cylinder is, and right now we're right about top dead center. And also I can rotate the push rod so I know there's no pressure on the valves themselves, meaning that we're on the back side of the lobe on the cam and we're not rising or falling. So we're going to give this just a little bit more to get us right at top dead center. Doesn't need much. Very tight in this engine bay. That should be about as high as we're gonna get. Yeah, it's right there. So basically, when I'm putting this in there, it doesn't drop into the hole at all. It hits the cylinder because that piston is sitting at an angle like that, and you put this in, it immediately hits it. That's top dead center. Now, you know, for race engines and stuff like that, you need to degree it and use all of that to get it spot on. For getting the motor running and basically getting everything set, this is sufficient. Been done for a really long time. Now we're going to bring in here we need to check at least where we are visually, and this looks like, oh, come on, when this is sitting, here's number one, and typically number one should be in line with the number one cylinder up here, and it looks like we're not too bad. We're pointed a little bit, we're more back here, so might see about rotating this around a little bit. The distributor looks like we might be one tooth off, but I do need to get this locked down into place. Doesn't seem to have a good lock, but we'll get it locked in place and make sure that that's pointed in, even if it's not pointed up here at the number one like I like, as long as it's pointed at the number one plug wire, then we're good to go. Okay, so you can see here, there is my, right there, there's my black mark, and now we've got the cap or rotor cap is now pointing at my line, and the rotor is pointing at the number one cylinder. So basic line, that should be a good baseline. And all I did was I undid the hold down clamp on the distributor, pick the distributor up, rotate the rotor. You got to get the oil pump on these to rotate with it, but then you just drop it back in place. Little wiggling, and it goes right back in. So that is set. We're solid back to where we need to be. I'm going to reinstall the hold down. We'll put the cap back on it, and then we're going to rotate the motor over a couple of times and check a couple of these other cylinders. We're going to use the book and just we're going to do it on the rotational method. I'll come back to you and explain it. I forget which ones. I always go back to the book. I don't try to do it by memory. Switching back and forth between LS's, 350s, and whatever else I work on, my RV, whatever, I forget, you know, just sometimes better to go by the book. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, I've been waiting and waiting, and it keeps getting delayed. Still waiting on my parts for the cooling system. I need a hose, I need a fitting, and we can put water in it and start the motor. I got the battery all charged up, but in the meantime, I've been doing some other things. I worked on my RV a little bit. I've been looking at the electrical on this system. So thought I'd kind of explain where I'm at. Most of it is done. Just, you know, tail lights work, headlights work, blinkers work. Just got to finalize a few things. The windshield wipers are not connected. It's got this typical switch is park position, low, and high. Unfortunately, the motor that was bought for this thing is only a single speed motor. And you can see here we're going to do a negative ground system, and it's just got a positive, a negative, and a switch. And the switch and negative both go to chassis grounds, and then there's a 4-amp fuse that goes to the positive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire this up this way. We're going to take the positive, we're going to run it all the way down to the fuse box or fuse panel. I'm going to take the switch, we're going to run it all the way down to the wiper switch. This negative ground, I'm just going to connect somewhere up close to the motor. No reason to run that wire all the way down and connect it down underneath. This is a full metal body. We can ground it up in the roof somewhere close by and just use a short piece of wire rather than 3 feet. Save us a few dollars. The other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to set this switch in the center spot. Normally that would be the low, but I'm going to set it so that if you turn it to the right, or turn it left, I'm sorry, turn it to the left, that'll be the 1-speed wiper motor. And I'm doing this, it's going to be negative ground. So this is going to connect the grounds. There'll be positive power always going to the motor. That'll be off. That one, I'm going to do the negative ground switch, and we're going to put a dome light. You won't be able to see, it's real dark. But there's a dome light position back there. We'll put a dome light in it. Dome lights are one of those things you can get by without them, but when you have one, the times you need it, rather important. And this car's black on black on black. It makes it real hard if you drop anything on the floor. It's just going to be nice to be able to turn that dome light on and get a visual of what's going on. It can be a nice safety feature. It won't have a door switch. I'm not going to put one in it. They don't have a provision for one, even though you could put one in. And if the customer requested it, I would do so. But for now, we're going to get that done. I have the interior door pieces. I'm going to pause you. We're going to walk over and look at that. All right, unpause. All right, so here's this is passenger side. Here's driver. Pretty nice. They came, the clips are already on them. This one actually makes me think it's a repop for some reason. It just doesn't have the look of being an older unit. This looks like an original. But what I've also got coming, we got the interior wiper pieces coming, so those will get here. We'll sand them down. I'm going to spray paint them a flat black, similar to that. And then we will get the new felts on them. Probably make sure all the bolt holes and stuff line up. That would be important. So we'll get all that stuff done. I've got along with those felts, I've got all of the interior channels that go in here. Those are coming. So we'll get all that installed. Then I'll be able to slide the glass in place and make sure I know what height the motor needs to be. And then I'll devise the brackets for the motor, get them offset inside the door. Of course, the one thing I did notice, I test fitted the interior channels. The interiors of these doors are a bit crooked, probably from people jamming their shoulders up against them to pop them open and whatnot. So I have to straighten that out and get them a little bit better. And then from there, once that's done, we'll be able to get all the interior motors installed. And then once the windows are in, we can just wire up the switches, which is all pretty basic. It's all there's a diagram around here somewhere. It just tells you connect power, connect ground, and yada yada yada. So that won't be any big deal. We got a couple interior lights on the gauges that aren't working, so I got to get into that. And there is a ground run inside that goes to the electric fan. It's down here. When you ground this, it grounds the relay and turns the fan on. So I've got a switch coming. There's another hole there. We'll install that switch, run a chassis ground, connect that wire to it. You turn that switch on, it'll turn the cooling fan on. Kind of nice if the motor's running hot for any reason, that you can, when you stop, you can turn that switch on and it'll leave the fan running while you run in the store, or maybe while you're sitting there and need to run it for a couple minutes, get things cooled down. That should, and the radio. Determine that the radio, it works, it puts noise out to the speakers and stuff, but it's not getting any reception, and that's just because there is no antenna connected to it. So I've got a kind of hidden antenna coming. We're not going to punch a hole in the body. This is just going to be a little stick-on. It's going to go on the windshield. We'll probably put it up top near the hinges. You won't even hardly be able to see it. We could also put it by maybe on one of these back windows. We can maybe put it back in here along the bottom or something, or back in this area, and you'd never see it. So depending on how long the cord is for it, we'll determine that, but we'll get it ran. And then there's just a few other minor things to do inside. Get the boot for the shifter down. Probably need to see if we can find one for the parking brake cable. But once those couple of things are done and this thing's running, it's out of here. Okay, I've been working on the interior. I haven't really been filming it because I've been tracing wires, and that's really just a film of me laying on my back inside the car poking at wires. Not exciting at all. But you can see I've got it pretty torn apart at this point. We've been removing panels. I've got panels removed over here. Trying to get up inside here so that I can get to, so that I can get to the fuse box. Trying to find the wiper motor power. And I'm starting to suspect that there isn't a wire for it. We'll find out. I got to continue tracing them. But if there isn't a wire there, then I've got to, there should be, there's two positions for the fuse. Normally if they don't have a wire, they don't have the other pin out. But maybe in this case they do, in case you wanted to add it. So if I can't find the wire and it's not in the harness, that means I got to pull the fuse panel and put one in it and then run a fuse, and then that'll get power to the wipers. Right now I've got all of the wiring run up to the motor itself. I just need to finish the rest of it. Same thing with the light. I got to run the wires back there. Be easy peasy. In the meantime, Amazon delivered the parts to put the coolant system together. So Ronan and I, we started that, and now we're going to finish topping off the water. Ronan, you want to go ahead and finish putting in? We've put in about 1.5 gallons. So we will continue on. It shouldn't take much more, I wouldn't think. Typically about 3 gallons for a 350. Careful. We got our system up here. Oh my. You look right down there. We are missing a plug in the side of the head.
That's not good.
No. Looks like there might have been a sensor there. It's been taken out. So we'll have to plug that. But no big deal. I got one of them laying around, I believe. So we'll put one in and then see if we can fire this sucker up. All right, everybody. We're back out in the shop for another day. It's been a little bit for me. Went and helped a friend put up some walls. Was actually supposed to be in Daytona at the turkey rod run today, but plans changed. I didn't like my RV spot, couldn't get in it, a whole bunch of other issues with it. Basically me, but at any rate, I came back to the house last night and decided to work on the 37 today. So right now, last we talked, that fitting, it's that one right there, was in the way, or I couldn't get to it. So I've removed the header, and we will get that fitting out. I'll put the proper plug in it, and then we'll bolt the header back up. And then we can move on to trying to start it. I do need to order the rest of the fittings because I had that wrong one. So I need to get on that. I completely forgot about it. But we can at least start it without it. I just won't be able to run it forever. Fitting is in. Sorry. There you go. So now I'll put the header back on. Just kind of fiddly, got little bolts, and 2 of them have to remain captured, this one and the other one, because the way the headers turn. So got to put the gasket on it and then put it up there and get them started. because they basically have to be tightened as you push in the header. And then once that's buttoned up, we can move to trying to start it. All right, got the header back in. I got fiberglass all on my fingers. That's always nice. Just the cost of having header wrap. It won't be a big deal. We got water in the system now that we got that plugged. You can see I still got a little bit in there, but added in about another gallon. So now, hopefully we still have enough juice since the last time I charged this. We're gonna give her a shot and see how it goes with the fire up. I don't know. Well, hold on. All right, hold on. My switch is turning on me. All right, take two. It wouldn't have started anyways. I had the master battery switch off and hadn't turned it back on. All right, master battery switch is on. Tightened up the key, ignition switch so it would quit spinning and work as appropriate. Let's see what we got. We're in park. Ooh, not good. That looks like a timing issue. All right, so we've set the timing. We're backfiring through the carb, so that means we're either too far advanced or the cam is 180 out, which is a possibility. Sometimes if you set the cam dot to dot and then you don't rotate it the 180 to get them so they're dot over dot, then you don't have number one at its firing position. You have it at the top dead center of compression, yada yada yada, but the firing's over on number 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to retard the timing with the distributor and try to get it a little later, see if that doesn't fix the issue. If that doesn't get it, then we'll have to set it all back to top dead center on number 1, and then we'll reset the distributor so that it points at number 6 and see if that don't fix it. The only other real option would be that we're running so rich that that's causing a backfire. However, we haven't ran it enough for us to determine that. All right, so let's reset this. I'm just going to loosen the distributor, rotate a little bit, and we'll rotate it counterclockwise. That, since it rotates clockwise, if we rotate it counterclockwise, that will retard the timing. We'll start there and see if we can't get her to fire off. All right, let's try it again. Here we go. All right, that's better. Looks like we might still be a little bit on the retarded side, but let's see if we can get some fuel up here and give her another shot. Running. All right, let's see if we can get her to fire up again. I think we're still a little bit on the advanced side. Probably gonna have to pull that back down. Hold on, let me take a little bit of timing out of it. Now I don't have the vacuum advance set up. There's a couple more degrees. Let's see how that does. This switch is driving me insane. All right, we're close. All right, we got fuel, so we should be pretty close. I'm concerned we might have some pretty big vacuum leaks. We're gonna have to check on that, but all right, let's give her another shot, because I see there's a vacuum. See, is that one not plugged? I've got a leak over here on the water jacket. Gonna have to find that one and fix it. Biscuits. All right. Try it again. Oh, the switch. So frustrating. It's spinning inside itself or something. So you turn it and just the whole thing turns. It won't actually work. Got good oil pressure. All right, we've got ignition, so it acts like I'm having a fuel problem. So I got to get into that. And I don't know if it's a fuel because it's closed or cold, fuel because it's doesn't have a lot of fuel in the tank. There's fuel here. You know, is it too much fuel? I don't know. Let me look into it. All right, I got it running for a couple minutes. There goes that switch again. Say something's happening on this side. I don't know, one of the valves sounds really unhappy. I don't know why. We're gonna have to pull that valve cover off. Pull that valve cover off and take a look. Something's not. All right, so I've been playing with the car, and one important thing I did, so the ignition switch was up here, and there's no slots cut into this opening to accept the slots in the ignition. That's why I kept spinning every time I hit the key. So I moved it down there where the ignition switch is supposed to be. Now it is a little bit deep, so I had to put a spacer behind it. I'd like a better looking spacer, but for now, that one's gonna work. Now I've been playing with the timing a little bit. Oh, now it goes wonky on me. It's vapor locking a little bit, but the timing's better. Now we don't have a vacuum advance on it. And it seems to be, it's either missing, well, you know, it's not, probably not missing. I don't have the other two carbs set up. So as we get into the advance, one, we're not advancing the timing, and two, the other two carbs need to be kicking in. So now it's time to start putting the other linkage in, start tuning them. But we've at least got it idling half decent. Was idling way up, and still idling real rough. So I don't know if we've got some idle circuits that are messed up. We'll have to play with that at some point. It's almost out of fuel too. I gotta go get more fuel. But at least we're getting there. All right, I connected the linkage for the two carburetors. So they're all three working now, but we got problems. So the way this works, there's your primary carburetor on the other side, like a normal carburetor connection. And then on this side, you've got a bar attached to the screw shaft. And as the main one spins, it's supposed to slide right here till it reaches this stop. And then once it reaches that stop, it'll pull the other carburetors in. So there, we're running. The problem we're having is not wanting to release. I think I'm gonna start by adjusting things in a little bit. Looks like that shaft's going quite crooked. I'm gonna see if I can get that all to smooth out. If I can't, what I'll end up doing is boring that out a little bit so there's a little more play in it and it's not quite so tight. That's what we're gonna play with next. Okay, I'm done for the day. I ran out of fuel. Kept meaning to go get some and I didn't. But here's what I've done. So I've straightened all of these out so that they're running parallel, not getting binding in there now, at least not quite as much. See, it's still not returning fully, and I'm not it acts like it's hanging up right here, so I got to figure out that spring right in there is not right. Oh yeah, see, it's not hooked up either. So I got to figure out why that's messed up, and a few other things to get it tuned. But we're getting close to having it roughly done. Once we get everything fully functional and roughly done, we'll be able to go through and get her spot on. Lots of adjustability in the system. We've got different holes which allow us our ramp in, you know, how quickly things actuate. We can adjust it for wide open throttle, all of that good stuff. You know, adjusting these further out lets this carburetor go more, so you know these come in later. You can have them come in earlier, all that good stuff. This one's just a return stop, so as this one closes and you're letting off the throttle, it makes sure that these close as well, so you don't get run on. All of that good stuff. That system's fully got all the adjustability. I've just got to get in there and get things kind of worked out with whatever was done when it was installed. Some of it's not quite right, so we're on it though. So going down to Daytona tomorrow, probably get you a little bit of video there, and we'll get back on this on Monday. Tomorrow's Saturday, going mountain biking Sunday with my boy, and then Monday we'll be back on this. And you know, we've got it. It's leaking a little bit of water, it's puking it out, or at least it was. We'll have to see how that works out. It was running about 195. Hopefully now that we're getting the timing, we're getting a little more fuel, we'll get that back down around 180. And it doesn't have an overflow, which it should. Anytime you don't have an overflow, when the water expands, it goes past the pressure neck or the pressure cap, If you don't have a collection tank, it just spews out on the ground, and then when it cools, it tries to draw that fluid back in. There's no fluid, you get air in the system, and you end up overheating. So it should have a collection tank, but we're getting there. All right, everybody, so when I last left you, we were getting the carbs all hooked up, that good stuff, and I got the basics done. Now I need to set where they come in, which is, you want that at about 65%. In order to do that, I need to get this to wide open throttle, then get these to wide open throttle, and then I can set the stop over here at the proper location for 65%, and then we can get it all hooked up. In the process of doing that, though, I was messing with the carbs. I don't know if you can really see this, but they're wiggly. They should not be wiggling. So this is the base plate, and then this is the main body, and the screws come in from the bottom. You can't even see them all, but they're loose, which means because that's below the throttle plates, we would end up with some bad air-fuel mixtures if we start pulling air through there. So I'm gonna have to pull those two carbs. The center one seems to be fine. It seemed to be okay. It was leaking a little bit from the top plate, but all the screws just need a little half turn. Now our temperatures here in Florida have dropped quite a bit. We've been down in the 30s at night, just mid 50s to low 60s during the day, you know, Florida cold. And so not unusual for things to loosen up. In fact, my rat rod's leaking coolant. I'll have to get under there and tighten clamps and stuff like that now that we've gotten into some cooler weather. And typically once we get that done, you know, you do it once in a while, everything's fine. No big deal. So I'm gonna have to pull these other two carbs and get those bolts tightened up so we can get that, make sure they're sealed, and then we can put everything back on. Not a big deal, just take us a couple minutes. And then we'll get the stop set for when it comes in. I do need to order a couple of parts. The main carb I told you before. This is the, I forget what the name of that plate is. They've got a specific name for it and I'm drawing a blank. But at any rate, we need to get that plate on there. There's a valve that goes in there, and it's an idle control valve or something like that, or blow off valve, something like that. It has to deal with the idle circuit. I need to get that in there, and so I need to order those. I wanted to make sure I had the right numbers. When I was in Daytona, I did actually come across one of the guys that does these for a living. He does these, what are they, the Strombergs. These are Rochesters. There's one other brand of these 2 barrels that they use quite a bit. And he works with all of those, has like the intakes and the carburetors. They build all new ones, they refurbish them, all that good stuff. So I can order the parts from him, and we'll get that done. And then we should be able to get all the vacuums and stuff connected. We can set timing, all that good stuff. So that's where we're going today. So let's get on it. So I've been playing with the carburetors a little bit. We've got this one, and as you see in the time lapse, we took it off. We got the bolts tightened up. It no longer moves. That's good. Now what I'm working on is getting the throttle linkage set up. And the way this is supposed to work is there's spacing down in here, and to about 50% throttle, this one operates alone. And then you're supposed to be able to pull up on it, and all of them should hit wide open throttle at the same time. The problem I'm having right now is if I set it at wide open throttle for the front and rear, then I don't have any play down here. They all operate in sync. And that's not really how they're supposed to work. Some of the linkages have this part all switched around so that your slide is over here. Personally, I think that's a little easier way to set this up. This is not set up that way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this linkage here, we're gonna put it further out and see if that don't help us get a little more throw is what I'm looking for. So that this will operate by itself, but then as it goes forward, it's gonna pull on these more. And I may have to flip this back over and use one of the other holes, but that's what we're getting into. I didn't have carburetor parts. I got underneath the dash, started working on some wiring. Let me show you here. So we're up here on the fuse panel, just connecting these last couple of connections. But I got in behind it, made sure I knew what wire was for the wiper circuit, what wire was for the power windows. Power windows go to this connector, be the pink wire. We got power seats, power door locks, a couple others that I didn't trace. There's a white wire up above there. That's for the power, or for the wipers. I put fuses in them so that now I would have a full connection. And then I also ran, this would be the antenna for the radio. And that's why the radio wasn't working. But I ran it up through here, and I just did that by feeding this green stiff copper wire up through the chassis, grabbed it with some tape as you can see there, and then pulled it back. Now I'll undo the tape and plug it in. We'll zip tie the remaining wires up underneath there to the dash supports, and boom, we're good to go. Oh, the other end, it just goes right here on the window. You can barely see it, and when we get, if we ever put in a headliner, it'll cover most of that. But and you can see it a little bit from the exterior, but not bad. But at least now he doesn't have an antenna on the exterior and all that good stuff. So, but radio now works. Moving forward. All right, time for the what was, what is, and what will be. Wiring's done. I've got all the gauges. Well, I need the speedometer. This is a GPS speedometer. The owner has told me he has the sending unit at his house, so I got to go over and get it. It'll go in very similar to the radio antenna. I'll probably put it in the driver's side window. We'll run the cable over and just plug it into the back of the speedometer. Speedometer will then work. But the tach is wired up and working. The can actually probably show you that one. So we got working tach. All the other gauges are working over here. We're working down there. Whoops, sorry, we're working down there. The lights in the gauges work. Turn them on, turn them off. Same thing with the tach. The dimmers work in them, or they should. Yeah, they work. So that's good. The wipers work. I think I already showed you that though. But, well, I showed you that I had everything hooked up. Now I've got them working correctly. I'm waiting on a couple of parts, carburetor, waiting on the dome light to get here. Those should be here in the next couple of days. And now we got the last two major projects on this car, which is the windows. So we've got the electric motors. I've already ran the wiring for the switches. They're connected into power and everything. But now what I need to do is straighten these up, make sure that the door surrounds fit. get all of the clips and stuff for the felts and screws, all that little stuff handled. And then I need to go inside and we need to get the mounts in for the windows and make sure that I've got all that correctly placed. Then we can mount the windows, put the felts in. Should be pretty straightforward. I don't know about easy. It'll be, I mean, you know, there's only one way to put it and do it. So we'll get on that starting tomorrow. I need to paint the surrounds, so I need to clean them up, sand them down, and get them painted. We're just going to paint them flat black so they match with the rest of the car. And then while that's all drying, I'll work on getting things bolted in. I do believe I'm going to have to cut off and re-weld the mounts. I think that we're just as far as they go up in the top, those mounts set it too far into the door, and the window's gonna have some issues, I think. So we'll know here in a little while. I'll double check all that, but yeah, let's get started on it. All right, guys, so as I said, we're going to be working on windows, and right now I need to get these painted. So I'm going to sand them down. We're just painting flat black. But right now what I want to do is remove all of these clips so that I can remove the old felt. There's really not much felt left. It's just the, I don't know what you call them, backers. So these clips are just a small spring clip. I think you can see that. Oops. And don't know, there's probably a proper way to do this, or a different tool than a screwdriver and prying on them. Not really destroying them, but I get a little space in between the frame, and then I've discovered that if you get them up, you can just pop them out. And so that's what I'm doing, and hopefully none of them get distorted so bad that they won't work again. I'm assuming when they put them on from the factory, they probably had a pair of pliers similar to what you would see, like what are they, the bull rings that you use with upholstery, you know, and they just kind of squeeze them. I'm assuming they had a special pair of pliers that went underneath there and then squeezed the top to get the tension they needed. I don't have anything like that, but we may end up having to make something if these aren't tight enough so that I can get them squeezed back down and without beating on them. Once these are together, I don't want to deform the frames by pounding on them with a hammer. You just need something that'll put some tension on these. So we might make a pair of pliers that goes up underneath the bottom part and then squeezes the top. I shouldn't say make a pair. I'll modify a pair and make a tool to fit these. That's you know, Harbor Freight, they're perfect for that. You can go buy a pair of Harbor Freight pliers, modify them to work with what you need, and save yourself a bunch of money in the process. But at any rate, I'm not going to bore you with taking these off the rest of the way, but that's what we're doing. Okay, so I got the window in. I moved the regulator down. It wasn't too hard. I had to drill 2 holes. But you can see here's the top of the window. We got a 4-inch gap now right up here. And that's just because that's how far I have to lower it to get everything to align. Now it does align pretty well. It's in a pretty good position there. You know, if we had felt on the outside, it would ride up pretty good. I think all in all it would work. The biggest issue that I've got is in the down position. That 4 inches is going to make it so the window doesn't go all the way down you're always going to have some sticking up. And I'll show you what I mean over here real quick. Drew me an example. I'll have to template it, do a template. But if this is the current shape of the window, and then across where the dashed line is, we'd have to add 4 inches. We have to like come in 2, and then needs to be the window tracks out here. And then this would be where the window's grabbed. Not uncommon to see manufacturers' windows like that. But that's where we're at. I'm going to get the driver's side in. Now that I got everything templated up, I can make all the brackets real easy. We'll get them welded, get that one installed. Then it's just a matter of talking with the owner and figuring out what he wants to do glass-wise. But otherwise, the windows will be about done. All right, guys. So last time I left you with regards to the windows, we had taken them a template, we'd taken down the glass place, and at the end of the day, they couldn't cut it. They tried a couple of times, wasted a couple of sheets of glass, and couldn't get done what we needed done. So they had to decline the job. Such is life. Not their fault. Sometimes things just don't work out the way we want. We could have changed the template and gotten rid of some stuff, but that would have meant going into the doors, cutting out some parts to make the window glass then fit, all of that, and really kind of trying to avoid that because I don't have the ability to get in behind things without cutting the doors apart, and that's just not something we're interested in doing. So what I'm making is some risers. I've got one of them made. I'm getting ready to make the other, but I'll bring you in a little closer and show you how this works. So what we got is the old frame right here. See if I can bring you around a little better. This is the old frame. This is where it originally clamped the window. These were originally mounted. I have them on the wrong side. I shouldn't. Do I? What the heck? I think I do. No, I don't. Okay. At any rate, these were originally mounted right here. Sorry for my confusion there for a minute. And now I've got them mounted up here. And just used some aluminum. I attached it to the regulator and added in some dimple dies. This is to add some stiffness. I think it's going to work just fine. It appears to be correct. I'm a little concerned. I might have to try to add some kind of rib or something to this to give it a little bit of grip. I don't know yet. I'm going to have to get it in there and try, or mount the window to it and try to pull on it and see how firm it is. But otherwise, it doesn't take up any more room, and I'm hopeful that it'll work. It raises it the 4 inches we need. So we're going to give it a shot. I'm going to get into making this other one, which I've got it cut. I just need to drill all the holes, file them out. A couple of them need to be filed, and then dimple die the ones that need to be dimple dyed. We should be good. So let's get on it. I got everything into the window, or the door I should say. I'm going to hook up my battery so we can operate it. Right now I got it in the full up position. No glass is in it. And I messed with it a little bit earlier and ran into a problem. And so I had to run and get some different bolts. See if I got these going the right direction. Oh, there we go. Which way was that? That's the wrong way. All right, we'll go the other way. All right, so that's down. And right now everything's clearing. Now the window, when it's in the track, kind of helps keep the motor from flopping around. So that'll be a good thing. These are our clamps. You can see this is the bracket I made. This is the original regulator. Now what I need to do is, I'm not sure if I'm going to need to space this in a little bit to get a different angle for up here. We're just going to have to get in there and get the glass in it. Right now what I need to do is get the clips in it, get the window felt in it. Then I need to make some rubber for this one. The rubber, as I mentioned before, was lost. So I think we're going to cut up some inner tube, use some weather strip adhesive, and we'll glue the window in there, and we'll start making it work. And then I'll have to make some stops down here so that when the window comes fully down, it doesn't go down too far and get caught underneath where this turns in, because if you go down too far, it can flop in or just get under the clips. Really, it won't truly flop in because the guides are there. But that's where we're at. I'm getting ready to take off. I got to go look at a 59 T-Bird that has come up for sale in the local area. Don't know what kind of car it is, but we're going to go look and see how good she is or is not. But for now, we're getting close. We're almost done. All right, so we're at the point of putting the felt on the window trim rings, and I'm taking the little clips. I'm just giving them a little squeeze to tighten them up a little bit, just from when they were bent, to take them off. And then they just slide underneath. Make sure you don't line them up with a bolt hole. And then I'd like to tilt. You take the felt, you tilt it up, and then you can take either the pliers. If you got to use the pliers, it's better. Get that little click, and there she is. She's in place. Now I'm just going to keep working this around. Now I get this straightened out. Put one after it. Oops. Gotta get my squeeze on. I've had a couple of these I've had to take back off and redo because they were too loose. So not really a big deal. Typically I've found that if you can do it with your fingers, it's probably going to be too loose. It's best if you got to do it with the pliers. Oops. And that roll, the roll really helps. There we go. All right. When next you see this, it's going to be done. I'll have all the felt on it. All right, so I was working and I thought, hey, you know, I put stuff up on YouTube. I should film this because I've been working without filming. So the 37 needed a hood release, so that's what we're making. I got some parts gathered up. We're going to use this as a bracket. I need to remove this piece yet. We're going to put a bend here and a bend here. This wrench will get this bolt welded to it. It will mount something like that. This cable connector will get connected to the wrench. The cable will go through here. When you pull, the cable sheathing will be on this side of it, this side over here, and that will make it so that when you pull it, you only pull the interior piece, and boom, we have a hood release. So at any rate, oh, what the heck? At any rate, that's what I got going on. Now I just need to clean up the bolts a little bit, make some bends, and I'll be able to show you in a little better detail what I was talking about. Alright guys, time for a little update on where I'm at. When I last left you, I was working on getting all of the hood components in, or I should say the hood release components together. I have since done so, and it took a little bit. I had to get this hinge realigned. That just involved getting a tack weld cut out of it and then just loosening the bolts and getting it slid back. That aligned the front of the hood. You can see here all of our components here are in place, and still need to tighten this nut and everything, but the cable runs back here through the firewall up to the front. You can see our bracket is mounted to the underneath of the dash, but we just give a little pull on the handle. I'll show you from here. Watch the front of the hood. It pops up just fine. But now what I'm working on is the secondary latch mechanism. Right now you got to reach in here and push it to gain access to this part right here. This is the secondary safety latch. I need to make it so that it'll operate. There's the pin for the primary. So what I'm working on, I'll bring you over here. My plan is to make a button, making it out of steel, that fits in that hole. And once I get this ground down and everything, I'll show you all the parts and pieces, just like I did the handle, and show you how it's going to go together. But hopefully what we end up with is you pull that handle, it pops up, you go up, you push the button on the top of the hood. That releases the secondary, and then you can pick the hood up, put a prop rod in it, and do what you need to do. So let's get to it. Y'all want to see something funny? I got the button installed. It's not finished. It's not functional, but I closed the hood to make sure that it fit. Now I got to get in underneath here and get it open. Should be fun. I think I can do it using this. Let's see here. Nope, not from there. Maybe here. That should get it. All right, we got it. There we go. All right. Okay, so now what I need to do, you guys aren't going to really be able to see it. Hold on. Let me try and show you guys what I got going on here before I put it back in the vehicle and none of us can see it. So this goes into the hood. This attaches here and here inside the hood. This is the part right here that attaches to the car to latch it down. This is the safety hook. In case this one releases or you accidentally pull it, it'll only pop up while you're driving, and then this one catches it. This is going to operate this latch. You push this button down or this bar, and it's going to go like that. This is the button I made. I've added a little bit. It's not perfect. I'm going to have to do a little bit of cream just to get rid of some of this, and then we'll paint it. Should be all right. Not 100% satisfied with it. I'd love to make machined looking parts, but I don't typically have the time. But now what I need to do is add a washer right down here so that when this presses down, it'll push down on this and operate that lever. So what I got to do is bolt this in, put this in place with the spring and everything, and then figure out how to mark it. Then I can pull this back out, weld the washer to it, and then paint everything and put it all back together for the final time. Alright guys, I wanted to show you the hood real quick. Been working on the button and finally got everything finished, got it painted, but as you can see, we're latched, not going anywhere. Safety release up here doesn't release anything at the moment, but if you watch, we'll come inside, we release this, that releases the main release, And then you got the safety. Just a little button push, and up she comes. Working good. I like it. Fits the car too, because this car doesn't have a lot of chrome on it, and it doesn't have a lot of other embellishments. So having the big stock forward wing up there and stuff really wouldn't have fit this car. So that fits. It's real understated. You can barely see it. I used rattle can. I probably should have used a different paint, but that's what I had handy. So fingerprints show up on it real easy. But at any rate, hood latch is working good. All right, guys. Took the 37 for a test drive, and we got two problems kind of left. Valve covers are leaking. They need to come off. They need to be glued down. I've tried everything I can to get them to seal up without gluing them. It ain't working. So we'll seal them up, a little RCV, and the rear carburetor, for whatever reason, it was just pouring fuel. I don't know how long it's been doing it. I don't know if the float stuck. I knocked on it, didn't do anything. Right now I've got it pinched off, and it seems to have evened everything out. Still got a miss in it, but I think that's mechanical. Then the motor valve, crack valve, something like that, because it happens in all RPM. Like right now, and that's the sticky part of the throttle shaft. But for the most part, we've about got it done. So let me shut it off. We'll do a walk around on it. Take a look at what's going on. Alright, so all the gauges in here now work, including the tach. Windows work. Oops. I'm not 100% happy with them. They were cut a little small, and so like this one, when it goes into its natural position, it's too far back. It needed to be probably 3/4 of an inch larger. And then for these window regulators, it should be at least an inch deeper. Same thing with this one, but they do work. This one's not as bad. Got all the door cards in them, so looking good. I don't have the handle for this side. We got the boot in there. Got the radiator flushed out. We got coolant in it. Fan's working like it should. Actually, when it idles, it'll bounce on and off the thermostat with the fan, so that's a good thing. But we got the data plate in it. I screwed up there. I put the data plate on. Before I did the data plate, I went to wipe it off just to make sure there was nothing underneath it. And the rag had cleaner on it, and so I messed up the paint. Not happy at all with that. It's going to suck to tell the owner. Other than that, we got new belt on it. Alternator's tight. We tightened up all of the bolts on the the belt system. There were a bunch of loose bolts there. We've changed the oil. We've got the transmission fluid topped off the rear end. Got the radio fixed, and just everything's put back together. All the wiring's done. It's got an interior light now. Oops. Oh. Oh, why's my light not working? There it goes. I gotta look at the ground. My ground's not working. Alright. Well, at least we found that. So I'll look at the ground on that, and then we'll take a gander at the valve covers and whatnot, and get all that stuff squared away. Alright, but I'm going to wrap that up. I don't know if I'll get a chance to take you for a test drive. Maybe we will. If I do, I'll try to take you along. Don't like trying to film while I'm driving customer cars. The risk of wrecking something's too much. So, well, that wraps that up for this one. We'll catch you on the next one.